Today is the day the U.S. government reached its $14.3 trillion debt ceiling this morning. That's the amount it's legally allowed to borrow. According to the Congressional Research Service, the debt ceiling has been raised 74 times since March 1962. And while both Republicans and Democrats agree failing to raise the debt ceiling is not an option, both sides are still far from a deal. Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner said he can move money around to keep the U.S. out of default until August 2nd, but urged Congress once again today to raise the country's legal borrowing limit soon to, quote, protect the full faith and credit of the United States and avoid catastrophic economic consequences for citizens. Ali Velshi spoke about what needs to be done in Washington with CNN contributor Roland Martin and CNN Money's Janine Sahadi.
We wanted to keep our debt at the level that it's at right now, not reducing it, just simply keeping it from growing just through spending cuts. We'd have to cut our spending by 35%. That's about $1.2 trillion, or basically our government's entire budget for discretionary spending, including defense. Now, to achieve the same goal of keeping our debt where it is just through tax increases, so forget about spending cuts, the government would need to take in 50% more in tax revenue. Bottom line is, it seems to me that we have to do both. As I explained earlier, it's simply not feasible to seriously tackle our debt without both spending cuts and increasing revenue, although you will continue to hear some conservatives say this is a spending problem, not a revenue problem. I know this, you know this. When is Washington going to start reflecting this?
Well, I think under a couple of scenarios. One, if we have a bond market crisis, which is not necessarily likely, but that would definitely inspire people to get busy negotiating and compromising. The other might be if Americans stand up and say, you know what, I don't want a third of the federal budget cut. I want to have some of the federal budget cut, but I also am willing to pay a little bit more in taxes. There was a board members of the Concord Coalition, which is a deficit watchdog group, said something really smart this week. The board is made up of former lawmakers from the left and the right, and they basically said, look, neither party has the muscle or the public trust to push through a one-sided solution. They don't have the votes for it. So bipartisan solutions are mandatory. It's not an option. You know, compromise shouldn't be seen as giving up.
And be sure to join Christine Romans